And now, live from ETIN's Boston studios, here's Lucas Frankel and Mike Lucas.
Hello and welcome to the 10th Lucas and Lucas show of the semester. Mike Lucas alongside Lucas Frankel and the newest addition to the crew today, Isaac Moore in the booth. Isaac, first time here for a full-time show. How you feeling today, kid? Feeling good. That's what I hear. Frankel, what do we listen on?
ETIN. Big show tonight, but it is the 1 year anniversary of the Boston Marathon tragedy 1 year ago. And obviously when you hear about that, so much goes through, your mind and everything. Just a lot of memories on this day.
Yeah, last year, obviously a tragic event. I was at the place the bombs went off about 25 minutes before they went off. I will never forget the sound of the bombs, just the emptiness of the city that night walking back from Coach O'Brien's house. I mean, it's something I'll never forget, never will be able to forget, never want to be able to forget. But it's good to see how the city's progressed and how we've recovered since then. Yeah,
it's 1 year ago. It was a really crazy day. Just like you saw it happen, and my first instinct was go outside and try to get as close as I could. And everyone's going one way. I'm going the other way. So something's not right if that's happening. So whenever that happens, something's not right. And just the week ahead, it was the week after that, it was just crazy. It was a war zone. There was nobody around. And there were the Boston Common, there were, AK-47s and tanks everywhere, and every news station imaginable was occupying the public garden, which basically became the communication center of the world.
ESPN, CNN, CBS, and then the night they caught Tsarnaev was just an absolute festival in the Common. Great night. Isaac, where were you when the bombs went off last year?
I was actually right, not far from where you were, Mike. I remember pretty clearly when the bombs went off. Initially, I thought it was actually just, maybe some sort of cannons at the finish line, some sort of celebratory thing, but I was pretty shocked when I ended up finding out, but I knew something was certainly wrong when I started seeing literally dozens of cop cars racing down Comm Ave, and it was a pretty scary thing. Yeah,
I was on my coach's roof deck. I asked him, hey, coach, did you hear that thunder, or is it just me? There's not a cloud in the sky, and clearly it wasn't thunder. It was two bombs. So, tragic event. They had a great ceremony today, the flag raising, the city of Boston had a moment of silence.
And then tonight, or just now, or at least a half hour ago, there were suspicious bags at the finish line, and now the whole area around Copley Square is closed. And a very bizarre scene from what we've heard.
Yeah, crazy scene. It's going to be a crazy week, and I think Monday's going to be a special day. But let's get into some sports. That's what we're here to talk about. And we'll start with the baseball. The major leagues. Instant replay was implemented this year. Hasn't got off to the best start early on in the season, Frankel. We had this argument last week. You didn't love how the replay started. But is it getting any better?
The funny thing is that obviously I went to spring training and talking to managers and people around baseball, Buck Martinez, Jim Duquette, John Farrell, Joe Girardi, Bo Porter, there were no negative connotations associated with replay during spring training. It was going to be great, good for the game. We're going to get it right. And it's been the complete opposite. You had John Farrell just ripping apart. You said, the system is clearly not working. He got fined by Major League Baseball, which is another thing. And that brings up two things. Okay, the first thing happened during the Yankee game on Saturday. D9 hit a double, slid into second, and Xander Bogaerts, who, it's amazing that he's the second youngest player in baseball. He plays like he's like a 30-year-old veteran who knows everything. And
he's great.
Held the tag on Anna. And Anna's foot came off the bag for a split second, and clearly
the tag was still on.
The picture is there. His foot's off the base, and he's out. And then John Farrell gets the word from the clubhouse, ask for a challenge. The umps review it, and they come out of the play and they call him safe. And this made me ballistic. I could not believe that they called him safe. I was like, he's out. The whole stadium knew it. Everyone on TV knew it. It seemed everybody knew it besides the umpires.
It's unbelievable that they didn't have the angle of the replay when every other station, there was pictures, ESPN had it. I mean, it was on SportsCenter in the next hour. Everyone else besides the MLB officiating booth had the view that clearly showed Anna out. Now, instant replay was implemented this season to make sure umpires' calls are right. It was the only reason. To move with technology and to make sure the calls are right. But, a few weeks into the season, they're still getting calls wrong. It hasn't got better. It's not 100%.
I mean, in their defense, there have been calls that have been overturned. The Cervelli play, the Mets had a call that went their way that helped them win a game. And speaking of that Cervelli play, this happened on Sunday night. Francisco Cervelli running down first base, running around third, and he was running down the line, and it was a very close play at first base. Then ended up pulling his hamstring on the play and falling down. Now he's out put on a 60-day DL today. So
hammies are not fun to deal with. Hammies stink.
He's going to be out for 2 months. And it was even funner because then Garvis Solarte hurt his hammy. It was just like every single time the Yankees ran down to first base, they kept pulling a hammy. It was like, aren't these guys in shape? Don't they like run and
hammies could happen at any time to any person. It's not an issue of being in shape. It's a fluke injury. It's running. It happens. It's part of sports.
Either way, Cervelli, it was really hard to tell with live camera. So they went through review. Joe Girardi came out, challenged the play, and after further review, they saw the play and they overturned it. They called him safe. It was very close. The ball hit Napoli's glove,
but it didn't squeeze it yet.
But it wasn't like close, secured in. So that's why they overturned it. And then John Farrell comes out and argues. And after seeing that, I was like, this defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah.
We reviewed the play, and you still come out and argue. I mean, wasn't the point of reviewing it to take that out of the game?
That's what the point was. But the only reason I think a manager would come out after the replay to argue is to get his team riled up, to try to get kicked out of the game. Farrell, in that situation, maybe not, but there are times when managers purposely argue to an extent way beyond what they have to rally up their team and get kicked out of the game. Getting kicked out not only ignites the fans, it ignites the team. They try to rally around the coach. And after a replay, I mean, what better time to do that? Think about it. They already went to the hood. They reviewed the play, and they had a conclusive decision. Whether it's conclusive or not, it's their decision. They're not going to go back and review it a second time. Arguing at that point, to me, it says one thing. I'm trying to get kicked out of the game. My team's playing at a low energy level. I have to find something to do to kickstart them.
I believe he went out there looking to get ejected.
I agree. That's what I'm saying.
It was preposterous. They reviewed the play. They overturned it. They looked at the evidence. And you still come out and argue. I mean, what? I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense. The review is final. You can't review a review. You cannot review a review. You review the first play, and you make a call on it, which is what they did, and he came out to argue their reviewed call. He was trying to get kicked out. It's plain and simple. Sometimes managers do that, like I said a second ago, to rally their team. Energy's low. They need a little kickstart, a little fire, a little spark under the fire. Anything to get this team riled up. That's what John Farrell was doing. They ended up losing 3 or 4 games to the Yanks. Maybe him getting kicked out could have been the difference in them stealing a game here.
No, I don't know. I mean, if anything, that was supposed to spark the Red Sox, and it didn't. Thankfully, it didn't, because that was I was just sitting watching there, and I was just like, oh my God, what a joke. But either way, these reviews are taking way too long. You know, there needs to be better communication. They may have rushed into it a bit. I don't know. It's just the whole thing is frustrating. The whole Anna thing, that was just preposterous. That is something I'll never get over.
It's the fact that everyone else had the angle that showed he was clearly out. Everybody else. Twitter. Mm-hmm. I saw Vines. Vines had it on Twitter.
Yeah. But
the MLB $50 million officiating booth,
they said that they
didn't have the angle. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. Believe me.
Are you kidding me? It's $50 million and you don't have the one angle that shows it when everybody else has the angle? Come on, Bud Selig. Come on,
and
MLB.
The other thing that happened in Major League Baseball was on Thursday night when Isaac and I were driving down to New York. Michael Pineda had the dirt on his hand, which, by the way, if you know anything about sports, that was blatantly pine tar if I've ever seen it. So, Mike, what did you think about it?
I think it's funny how nobody in the league actually cares, but the media made it out to be the biggest deal ever. The media, the pine tar scandal, Michael Pineda.
Here's what
you ask anyone in the locker room after the game, Clay Buchholz didn't say anything. The Red Sox didn't argue.
Clay Buchholz can't say anything.
I'm saying the Red Sox didn't argue because John Lester and Buchholz have both got caught before, using pine tar. So the only one that seemed to care is the media.
And here's an interesting thing about that was listening to either like sports media, and after that they were saying that the Red Sox told Nesson to make a point out of that. They didn't say anything. Farrell didn't say anything, but they made sure that Orsillo and Remy would hammer that home and be like, "Look at what he's got in his hand. He's got some illegal thing on his hand."
Frankel, that's just speculation. I mean, we can't certain whether.
Do you believe it though?
Listen, I listened to the same thing that you were listening to, and I think that they were just speculating at the time.
But the fact that the camera angles were so quick to pick that up, It's interesting.
Well,
It's
listen,
something to think about.
I mean, I think definitely the producers in the booth told the Nesson cameras to focus in on that once they noticed it. I'm not sure if exactly
Because he had it on his hand in Toronto too. It was also there in Toronto, and you don't think the Red Sox saw that going in?
Maybe they did. Maybe Nesson saw it though. Maybe Nesson saw that and said, "You know what? Let's make a story on this."
If I'm a producer at Nesson and I see that, I'm hammering that home.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm definitely hammering that home because that's something. First off, it's against the Yankees. Anything to, belittle the Yankees is something you have to hit on.
I like to believe that was all Nesson. That was all the Red Sox telling Nesson. That's what I want to believe.
I think just one other interesting thing.
Of course, you want to believe that.
It makes the most sense. It makes the most logical sense because here's why. Because the Red Sox aren't involved. Anyone says, "Oh, the Red Sox are doing this on purpose," they're like, "No, that wasn't us. Nesson found it."
Well, the Red Sox have been caught, like we just said, multiple times in the past using it, so they can't bring it up or they look like hypocrites. Even though all of baseball's hypocrites. I think the one really interesting part though is the next morning on ESPN or SportsCenter, Aaron Boone was asked about it, and he said, I had pine tar on my glove at third base in cold weather. I'd rather have a pitcher have pine tar and locate his fastball
that's the other thing.
than hit me in the head with a 97-mile-an-hour heater.
Do you think that pine tar is cheating?
It gives an advantage. I don't think that's debatable. It gives an advantage being able to grip the ball better, but if I put pine tar in my hand, I'm not throwing 97 heat.
You've better control the ball.
Michael Pineda is a good pitcher, pine tar or no pine tar.
By the way, Michael Pineda, oh my God, what a monster of a human being. He is so
he's
big.
Got disgusting stuff. His stuff is filthy.
And the fact that he's hitting 95 on the gun, you have no idea how big that is. He was my X factor going in, and if he can keep that up the rest of the way, wow.
Yeah.
Him and Tanaka, wow.
I mean, Aaron Boone said, the pine tar didn't make Pineda good. His 95-mile-an-hour fastball and filthy slider is what made him unhittable that game.
And we got to go to a phone call. We got David who's calling in. David, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I want to switch the topic for a second. I was wondering what you thought about the Masters. I thought it was probably the most boring Masters in many, many years. What was your impression?
Without Tiger, it honestly bored me. I'm not a huge Masters fan, to be honest. Not a huge golf guy in general. But without Tiger, without Phil, I wasn't hooked. I thought it was actually a pretty good tournament. Bubba Watson, Spaeth at the end, battling back and forth. Watson took it home at the end, but overall, if there's no Tiger involved for me, it's not the same.
And Bubba Watson ended up winning it, and for me, I don't know why, but the only guys that really attract my attention in golf are Tiger and Phil. For whatever reason, they're just the most, they're the most compelling players. There's controversy, especially around Tiger. Tiger is arguably the most excitable athlete to watch in all sports.
Excitable and hateable.
And he's the whole package. He is the complete package. And when they're not there, it changes things. And it was no juice around it. I mean, Bubba Watson's a great guy, and you happy for him? Small town.
What about you got this guy, this young kid, who's 20 years old.
That was cool.
The future.
Yeah,
he could be the next.
David,
he fell apart.
David, I actually agree with you. I watched the entire thing on Sunday, and I found the matchup between Spieth and Bubba Watson to be very entertaining. I thought it was, especially with the young kid kind of coming up strong early in the round. I felt like, obviously, I think I was rooting for him to kind of pull it off, and I think a lot of people that were watching were hoping for it.
I was.
I think no one's upset that Bubba Watson lost, but it would have been great to see the 20-year-old pull it off. I mean, some people I heard even comparing him to a young Tiger Woods.
It's amazing.
If this guy is a young Tiger Woods coming up, that would be kind of a cool thing. And, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I watched last year's Masters. Tiger wasn't that big of an impact. This year, to me, it was just as entertaining.
All right, that's completely fair. But, David, we're going to have to let you go. Thanks
before
for the
you
call.
go, David, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate the call.
All right, take care. Bye.
So, I could see the point where, the 20-year-old, and it's amazing. Immediately, next Tiger Woods. We got the next Tiger Woods out here. It's amazing that the comparisons just start flying in. And, as soon as Rory McIlroy won at the age of 21, he is going to be the next big thing. It's amazing. In golf, it's just they're waiting for that next Tiger Woods, and...
Yes, because without Tiger winning majors every single time, it's boring. I mean, that's really why. Golf needs another savior to kind of bring him back to the top.
It's true. And Spaeth, 1 year out of Texas University, he's our age. I mean, crazy to think that I've tried playing golf. Golf is so hard. I am so bad at golf. and this 20-year-old kid is in there with the best in the world doing what he did this weekend. Unbelievable. It just didn't have the same appeal with that Tiger to me. But before we go to our first break, who do you have winning the NBA Finals?
Winning?
Or playing and then winning?
I just got to go with the Heat.
Over
Oklahoma City. I know, going out on a limb, but I just think that Kevin Durant, he is, talk about a man on a mission this year. Kevin Durant is going to put the team on his back and do whatever it takes. Whether he has to score 70 points a game in the playoffs, I think he could do it. And give me the Clippers. The Thunder. Kevin Durant is on a man on a mission right now.
So you're picking the Thunder. So you changed your pick in the last 30 seconds.
I got the Thunder going back to the finals. I got the Heat winning it all, though.
So he's on a mission to get to the finals, but not to win the finals. Before the season, I said this was Kevin Durant's year. I picked him to beat the Heat in 6. I'm sticking with it. I think if they end up playing San Antonio in the conference finals, they're too athletic for San Antonio. The team that scares me is the team Mike said, the Clippers, who, that's a pretty. I don't love that matchup for the Thunder, but Kevin Durant is the best player in the league this year. He's not a better player than LeBron overall. He's a better player this year, deserves the MVP, and he's fun to watch. I think it's the Thunder's year. Something feels right.
Okay. One team that's not in the playoffs is the New York Knickerbockers. First time in Carmelo Anthony's 11-year career, he will not be in the playoffs. So a lot of unanswered questions going into the Knicks offseason. A lot of players that are going to be on expiring contracts. But Mike, you're Carmelo Anthony. You're the Knicks. Should the Knicks bring him back, and would he want to be back?
First, let's start. Would he want to be back? Yes. Phil's the new head of their team. He's a winner. He's from New York, and the Knicks can offer him the most money. For those 3 reasons, he probably wants to be back. For the Knicks, let him go. Let Carmelo Anthony walk. He's been great in New York. There's no doubt about that. But the team needs a fresh start. Clean house. Everybody out. Let Phil Jackson rebuild the way he wants. The triangle system needs a big. Tyson Chandler played the triangle in Chicago. It was a fail. Let him go. He's not a winner. He hasn't won in his career.
You have it all wrong. You have it your whole philosophy on this is just wrong. Okay, Melo does not want to be back, and the Knicks want him back.
So we're completely opposite on this.
The Knicks, you saw all the comments. The Knicks want to build around Carmelo Anthony. That's what James Dolan's mindset is. He traded all.
Well, actually, should they? It's not do they want. The question was should they bring him back, and the answer is no.
Yeah, I agree. If the Knicks were smart, they would let him walk. And then screw this season, get rid of Stoudemire, Chandler, Bargnani, and then come 2015, sign 2 or 3 guys and build your team around that.
Yeah, start from scratch at the foundation, build it all the way up.
At the end of the day, I think the Knicks do bring Melo back. But talk about Phil Jackson, first off season, but the Knicks, I don't believe that Phil Jackson has the at least the ability to with the roster that he has and the contracts. Amari Stoudemire, $23 million, Tyson Chandler, $14 million, and Andrea Bargnani, $11.5 million. He doesn't have the leeway or the ability to maneuver around that and make big moves.
No, if Melo leaves, it opens up a max salary, but at the same time, he doesn't have that much room to work with. He doesn't have a first-round draft pick. So I expect him to be, a big player in free agency if they let Melo walk, because he has to be. He needs a star. He needs to add someone to that mix to make an impact on this team. Without a first-round draft pick, which would have been a top 10 pick this year, someone's got to fill the role, whether it's Melo or someone else. So, Phil isn't here to lose. Phil did not take the Knicks job to be a loser. He's a winner. 11 rings, the most of all time. He is a winner.
You don't think he came for the $12 million a year?
Well, obviously he came for the money, but he's not going to come and lose. If he's there, he's going to do everything in his power to make the Knicks a winning organization.
Listen, I think that it had more to do with the money than Phil Jackson believing he can turn this team around. Because I don't believe any team that's run by James Dolan can win. Flat out.
Phil Jackson has won everywhere in his career.
That's because he had Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, and listen,
he doesn't have that on the Knicks.
In 2 years, he has all the cap room in the world to assemble a team like that. Maybe this year he gets one, next year another. Whether he brings back Melo and adds a superstar to Melo. He's here to win. Obviously, $12 million, anyone's going to get off their couch for $12 million over 5 years. Anyone's going to do it for $60 million, but he's not here to lose. Yeah. All right, no one gets back in the business to lose.
There's definitely something to follow what Phil Jackson does over this offseason and the following offseason, but we'll get you on this. Jets hosted Chris Johnson today. There was rumors about a week ago that the next Jets were closing on a deal with him, so I don't know what's going on with that.
Interesting rumors, but last thing before we get out of here on our first ever filmed simulcast of the Lucas and Lucas Show, Bubba Watson, after winning the Masters, went to Waffle House. Tweeted a picture. Waffle House answered it was a great story. Isaac, we're going to start with you. Frankel next, and I'll close it out. if you had just won the Masters, where would you go to celebrate dinner? And if you say Waffle House, I'm cutting your head off.
You put me on the spot here. You didn't prepare me for this. You know what? I don't know where exactly I'd go.
All right, whatever. Mike, where would you go?
Let him finish.
He said he didn't know.
Isaac, finish, please.
Hey, no, fine. You
McDonald's.
guys go. Give me some time to think
All
about
right.
it.
McDonald's.
Listen, if
McDonald's, absolutely not. I am a huge, I cannot stand fast food.
All right, Mike.
Listen, if I win the Masters, I'm flying on a private jet to Boylston Street, Abe and Louie Steakhouse, 24-ounce bone-in aged ribeye steak. It is heaven in your mouth.
And I'm going to Old Homestead in New York City. Give me that ribeye, that juicy, fatty steak. That's heaven in a mouth.
You know what?
I think you were just stealing my term, but
I'm gonna go somewhere in the Caribbean because food just tastes sweeter.
What? Isaac, we can fucking
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm done.
Let
we
me
gotta
be
go.
on the- let me
That's
be
the
on-
clock. No, we're done. I don't want to hear about it. Done. Goodbye.
Hey, if you're on the beach,
Goodbye.
If you're on the beach, it's great. Big shout out to Mike Pendleton, Tom Curran for coming on the
Thanks
show
for coming on, guys. Great show tonight. See you back next week.
for the last show of the semester. Have a good one, guys.